What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel. And today, for the first of 3 videos, I was going to put it all into one video. It made a little bit more sense. It was tidier, all in one video. But every time I did it, was over like an hour long. I don't want to hold you up here. It'll be easier to chop it up into 3 separate videos released at different times throughout the day, which is what you're going to get. You're going to get in today's video, as the fallout of the 2020 NFL Draft. You're going to get my best pick for every single team in the NFL, and I'm also going to throw in the overall grade for these teams based upon all their picks. There will be a second video coming out where I'll highlight each team's worst draft pick, and then there'll be a final video where I'll highlight each team's best steal from the 2020 draft. So giving you my take on the good, the bad, and the intriguing, as well as giving you my overall draft grade. But I had to break it up into 3 different videos because an hour-long video, it's just, who wants to watch it? At least when I break it up, you can watch it in segments. It's easier. I think it's going to be a little bit more digestible. So today we're going to go through the power of ESPN.com because I just like how everything's just right here. We're going to go alphabetically from Arizona all the way down to the Washington Redskins. And for this video, I'm going to be giving you, in my opinion, their best pick, which best can be interpreted different ways. I will explain that, as well as giving you their overall draft grade, which, it will make a lot more sense once you watch all the other videos. But still, take my word on it. Take my word on it. So we're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals. Best pick. Best pick can be interpreted a bunch of different ways. For me, I'm kind of weighing it with 3 factors, and they're all weighted a little bit differently. One, the biggest one, is talent. How talented of a playmaker? Who is the most talented player that they brought in for their scheme fit? Now, there is a lot of first-round picks that I'm going to be talking about here, but not always the case. I'd say about half of them are first-round picks. Half of them are guys that they found in later rounds. A little bit scheme fit. Do they fit the scheme? Do they fit the depth chart? Was it a pick that a guy's going to contribute right away, or is it a pick that's a more forward-thinking, future-thinking move? And the last one's value. Did they reach for a player? They might have got a good player, but they reached for him. That doesn't always mean it's going to be the best pick. Like, I was very close here, for example. Let's get right into it. For the Arizona Cardinals, Josh Jones. I thought he was a first-round tackle. I thought he was late first-round, second-round tackle. They got him in the 3rd round. This is a team that I thought they would go tackle. I was very close, for example, putting Josh Jones there. But I will default for the Arizona Cardinals and say Isaiah Simmons is their best pick. He has the highest ceiling to be an absolute game changer if they can find out a way to utilize him. So I'm gonna just de facto to the 1st round pick here for the Arizona Cardinals. Overall, for their draft, looking at it here, I'm giving them B+. A very solid draft for Cliff Kingsbury. Got a lot of things addressed, getting really the biggest need on offense in a tackle and filling out the defense very nicely. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons. Weird selections, couple weird selections. The best pick for me was them getting Marlon Davidson at pick 47 in the 2nd round. Undersized defensive tackle, fits the mold, fits the style they're trying to bring. Will pair nicely with Grady Jarrett as 2 finesse inside edge rushers. That if they can, they're gonna play very well. They're gonna feed off each other. I think it's a good fit there for a Dan Quinn defense. Overall, though, for the Atlanta Falcons, some weird picks. I would question the value in some areas. So ultimately, I'm going to give the Atlanta Falcons right now for their 2020 draft grade a C. Not the best, not awful, but not particularly good. Baltimore, team that just cannot draft bad. Best pick for me was Patrick Queen. Here's why. Not only could he be the best linebacker in the class, not only was linebacker the biggest need for the Ravens, they sat there. At 28, they sat there and they got him. Versus a team like the Chargers, for example, that traded their whole second and 3rd round picks to move up and get Kenneth Murray. Well, Kenneth Murray, solid linebacker. There's no way that's going to grade out as a smart pick versus someone like Baltimore, the premier drafting organization that just sat there and got the biggest need, probably the highest player on their board. Round of applause yet again. Baltimore, sensational draft, top to bottom as we go through. The worst pick is going to be difficult. The value pick is also going to be difficult because they get a lot of value. Ultimately, for Baltimore, I'm going to give them a very strong A grade for the draft. Top 5 draft for sure. The Buffalo Bills are up next. They were the team last year I gave the highest draft grade for. They were my dark horse team last year. Made the playoffs. How did they do this year? Well, 1st round pick because of Stephon Diggs, but the best value pick for him is getting AJ Epineza. You didn't have a 1st round pick, but you got a 1st round caliber player at a position of need in the 2nd round at pick 54. I think he's a perfect fit for a Sean McDermott defense. Should challenge for starting snaps sooner than later. Ultimately, for the Buffalo Bills, I'm giving them a B+. Carolina's up next. Matt Rule era has begun. It's the post-Cam Newton era, if you will. I think they had a very solid draft. Their best pick for me, I'm just going to default to Derek Brown. I know this might actually be a controversial selection because a lot of people wanted Isaiah Simmons here. However, I defended this pick. It's a brand new team, brand new culture. You can't, if they didn't think they could utilize and properly use Isaiah Simmons, going with the safe pick of Derek Brown, who's going to improve their horribly underperforming, disappointing run defense, he's immediately going to fix it. They're going to run a multiple front defense. He can play anywhere on that defensive line. I also think he's explosive enough. You can put him at defensive end. He could be a D-end in a 3-4 scheme. I think if you really want to, keep him out there D-end 4-3 if you want it. But ultimately, he can nose tackle. He can play anywhere on the line. He should not come out the field a whole lot. And he's a great, great pillar to start rebuilding the post-Luke Kuechly defense there for the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to give them, ultimately, a B+ as well. The Chicago Bears are on the clock, and their best pick, in my opinion, was getting Jalen Johnson at pick 50 in the second round. I thought he could have potentially snuck into the first round as a corner. And it's, again, they didn't have a first round pick, and they addressed two kind of needs, getting Cole Kmet, but I think Jalen Johnson's better value and has a good shot at being a partner with Will Fuller starting on that defense sooner than later. But ultimately for the Bears, a little bit of a weird draft. I would argue some of the picks, not great value, a couple wasted picks in my opinion. So I'm unfortunately going to give the Chicago Bears, much like the Atlanta Falcons, a C grade. Now, a C grade's not terrible. It's a passing grade. Wasn't a bad draft, just maybe not the best draft. Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock, and we're not going to overthink this. Joe Burrow is their best pick. They hope to get the franchise quarterback. Zach Taylor has a really good prospect to work with. Hopefully, he can continue and build upon that one breakout year for Joe Burrow and continue to make him into a complete quarterback. But other than that, man, good draft. Could question maybe going linebacker 3 times, but I like the prospects. Higgins, Wilson, Davis Gaither, Kareem Adeniji, Marcus Bailey, from top to bottom. Very solid draft here for the Cincinnati Bengals. I would argue going linebacker 3 times, which is why they get a very strong B+, teetering on an A-. But I just think they maybe could have spread out the picks a little bit more. They needed to get linebacker. But did you need 3? And maybe I'm a little salty as an Eagle fan because any one of those 3 I would have been very happy with. But I think for Cincinnati, a B+, trending towards an A- is a fair grade. Cleveland Browns are up next, and the best pick here for me for the Cleveland Browns was getting Grant Delpit in the second round at pick 44. Last year, Greedy Williams slept to them, and, you know, the rest is history. He's one of the better rookie corners. I think he's going to build upon that next year. Now they got Grant Delpit. This is a safety core that didn't really have a safety core. Now you got some guy that you can definitely build around. I think the value there was immense. You get a franchise tackle in Jedrick Wills. The back end draft, there's a couple good value picks there. Ultimately, I think for the Cleveland Browns, much like the Cincinnati Bengals in that division, getting a very strong B+, trending towards an A-. I just thought they might have been able to get, the middle here. Elliott, Phillips, Bryant. I wasn't a huge fan of those 3 picks. That's kind of holding them back just a little bit. Dallas Cowboys are up next. This is a rough one. Dallas' best pick, in my opinion, it's CeeDee Lamb. The only thing that could question this as their best pick is they did not need a wide receiver, but they might have got the best wide receiver in the draft class as he slipped to them at pick 17. I got to reward that. Now you got CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper. How you going to start that? I look at this as an Eagles. Thank God Dak Prescott's throwing the football. And hopefully Dak Prescott's contract's mega, and they're not going to be able to re-sign like Michael Gallup and sooner or later. But it's annoying. And with Diggs, Gallimore, Robinson, if you could replace Dallas here with Philadelphia, this would damn well be my dream draft. Outside of that 7th round pick, I'm giving them an A+. One of the best drafts. Dallas has drafted very well the last couple years. I think last year might have been like their worst draft of the last 3. Every other year, I've given them I would say this. Every year except last year, I think I've been doing these for 4 years. 3 of the last 4 years, I think I've given Dallas the highest draft grade. Or at least equal. I remember Redskins had a good one llast year. But I'm giving them an A+. Diggs, Gallimore, Robinson, Canadian and Gallimore getting a little bias here. Bidaj, Anai, A+. That's annoying. That's very annoying to admit. The Denver Broncos are up next, and I thought their best pick is right here, right in the first round. Jerry Jeudy very well was their number 1 wide receiver. They needed a wide receiver. They did not have to trade up. He fell to their lap, and he's a great compliment to Cortland Sutton. No other way about it, man. That's a very good pick. And I'm going to ultimately give the Denver Broncos a strong A grade. I think a top 5 draft in this year's 2020 NFL draft. And I am very close to announcing. I will say, give me to the end of the month before I announce my 2020 dark horse. Last 3 years, my dark horses were teams that didn't make the playoffs the previous year. And then when I picked them, they made the playoffs. A little bit worried with Denver with that division because you got Kansas City, so I went to gamble on them to make the wild card. But I'm very close to announcing my 2020 dark horse. And I'll tell you right now, It's down to about like 2 or 3 teams, and Denver is very much, I think, in the driver's seat. Detroit Lions are up here. The Detroit Lions are best pick. I'm not going to overthink it again. It's Jeff Okudah. They got an immediate replacement for Darius Slay. Not too often you lose like an all-pro, Pro Bowl corner, and can replace him right away in the following draft. I think that's exactly what they got there in Jeff Okudah. Overall, for the Detroit Lions, I'm going to give them a B+. I think they had some pretty good picks. They got DeAndre Swift. In terms of players, they got some good talent. I don't know if they got the best positions filled that they needed to get fixed, but Aquara's value, Quintez Cephas, I had them in my mock draft. Congrats. Slow clap for you. Really nice draft there for the Detroit Lions. Strong B+. Green Bay. Okay. Best pick for Green Bay. This was tough to find a bet. I will argue it's Jordan Love. If you're looking at this from a Jordan Love standpoint, he just, he's going to be the Aaron Rodgers to the Brett Favre to the Aaron Rodgers of the now Jordan Love. You know what I'm saying? Very confusing, but it makes sense. I think going to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, getting a QB guy like Matt LaFleur, it's a really good learning environment for him to grow and to be the successor for Aaron Rodgers. But ultimately, for the Green Bay, they're getting an F. One of 2 teams that I have getting a failing grade. Just really bad picks, not great value picks across the board. Like, if I had to argue value, I mean, Garvin in the 7th round, Hanson, Runyon, Hanson, maybe. I don't know. Like, it's going to be tough when we come back around and have to discuss the best value pick, the sleeper that the Green Bay Packers got. It was not a good draft at all. It's an F. Houston is up. The Houston Texans. And they kind of followed my mock draft. When I did the mock draft for the Texans, I did have them going D-line and edge with their first 2 selections. I think their best pick was getting John Grenard, Florida edge rusher in the 3rd round. Obviously, there's some bias to that just a little bit. But I do think he's a great fit for the defense, underrated player. And I'm going to ultimately give the Houston Texans, though it's tough without a first-round pick, and I'm not a huge fan of Ross Blacklock personally. I'm giving them a C-. It was just an average draft, couple reaches here and there. I would argue the value wasn't great for the Houston Texans. A C-. Indianapolis Colts are up, and hey, it's highlighted here already. My best pick for them was actually Michael Pittman in the 2nd round. Now, that's roughly where he was a 2nd-round wide receiver, but I think when you look at this draft coming in for the Colts, they needed like a couple different things at the wide receiver spot. Like, I thought they could have used multiple receivers. They did get a couple here. They got Patman a little bit later, but I think you get all the things they kind of needed in Michael Pittman. You needed speed. He ran a legit 4.5. You needed size. He's 6'4", 230. You needed a guy that's sure-handed. He's sure-handed. Had like one of the lowest drop percentages last year at USC. Now, this feels disgusting, me complimenting a USC wide receiver, but I think Michael Pittman was the best pick of a very strong draft here for the Indianapolis Colts, where I gave them a B+, borderline A-. I think probably a fringe top 5 draft this year. I think I had them like 7th or 8th overall, but a very, very good draft. Chris Ballard is emerging as one of the best general managers in the NFL, like Taylor, Blackman, getting easy in the 4th round. Pinder's a nice prospect. It was a really solid draft, if not good draft, for the Indianapolis Colts. Jacksonville is up next, and for me, their best pick is their first pick. It's C.J. Henderson, the team that has lost A.J. Boyd, the team that has lost Jalen Ramsey. It needed to get a corner right away, and pretty much the consensus second outside corner after Jeff Okudah, right there for them at pick 9. In terms of impact, I think he makes the most impact for this team day 1. So that is why he is there as my best pick. Overall for Jacksonville, I'm giving them a B-. I think it was a solid draft, but for all that picks, all that ammunition, especially on day 3, I thought they could have done a little bit better, but Ben Bartch was a good pick. Quarterman, old school style linebacker. Luton is an okay developmental player. Might get something there to Colin Johnson, maybe move him to tight end. I don't know, but I thought they could have got a little bit better value on day 3, which kind of hurts the ranking. Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning defending Super Bowl champions. For me, their best pick was getting Willie Gay in the 2nd round, and this is trusting that they can develop him, because I have him comped as a much more athletic Vontaze Burfict, and for a team that has struggled to find really any identity at that linebacker spot, Willie Gay could emerge as their best pick, their best value pick when all is said and done. Overall for the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm giving them a solid B. I think they got some pretty good players. They got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Hyde from that 70s show, but they got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Nyang, L'Jarius Sneed. I liked a lot of the value picks that they got. It's a strong B. It's a very strong B. Chargers are up next, and their best pick for me, I'm going Justin Herbert. And again, it comes down to talent, but also it comes down to value. So many people thought they were going to have to trade up to get Herbert. They sat there at 6. they made the rest of the, all the Lions are going to trade back. The Chargers need to leapfrog. The Miami Dolphins are going to have to give up X, Y, and Z kind of. No, Justin Herbert's right there. They got their franchise quarterback. They got a guy that's going into the perfect scenario, the perfect team to draft. Justin Herbert got him. So congrats on that. Hopefully he is your next franchise. And overall, for the Chargers, even though I will come back to this Kenneth Murray pick, I think Herbert, Kenneth Murray, Josh Kelly, Joe Reed, Gilman, KJ Hill, they got tremendous value. This was going to be an A-, but I just can't get behind the picks and assets they gave up to get back up and to draft a linebacker. Even though I think Kenneth Murray was my number 2 linebacker, I can't reward giving a second and a third to get a linebacker. It's just, I don't know. The value's not there while the player should be very good. I'm giving them a B+, but I'd say if they just found a way to get Kenneth Murray without giving up a 2 and a 3, which that's probably what it definitely cost to move back into the first round. But if they could have waited, maybe got Kenneth Murray in the second round, traded up in the second round, it wouldn't have cost as much. So I'm just going to have to give them a B+ because of all the assets they gave up to get Kenneth Murray. I would just argue you don't trade up to get a linebacker in today's NFL. The Rams are up next. For the LA Rams, my favorite pick, the best pick, was getting Terrell Lewis here. Terrell Lewis at pick 84, incredibly high ceiling to be one of the really dominant edge rushers. I think he'd come in sooner than later and take over that Dante Fowler role there for the Rams. So I'm going to give him as their best pick. And overall for the Rams, I'm giving them a B grade. Solid B grade. Did not have a first round pick, but I think with Cam Akers, Van Jefferson, Burgess is a solid pick. Hopkins is a solid pick. Clay Johnson in the 7th round could be definitely a sleeper pick. A very strong B, which is a good grade for a team that didn't have a first round pick. Vegas Raiders are up. Best pick, it's right here. It's already highlighted. That is going to be Henry Ruggs III out of Alabama. They needed speed, kind of forced Derek Carr from stop all the checkdowns. It's a tremendous pick and shout. It also pays homage to Al Davis. Al Davis would absolutely love this pick. Overall, though, for the Raiders, I'm going to have to give them a B as well. Certain head-scratching picks, you could argue, back-to-back wide receivers in the 3rd round. What's going on there? They had some really solid picks that I do like that we will get to when we talk about the value picks, the sleeper picks. But, yeah, gonna have to, unfortunately, because of certain picks, gonna have to give them overall just a B grade. Miami's next on the clock. Best pick for me is Tua. They got tanked for Tua. They got their franchise quarterback. I'm pulling for him. I'm a Tua Tagovailoa fan, which is weird because I hate everything that is Alabama Crimson Tide. But I'm pulling for him. I think he's going to be a very exciting quarterback and make Miami a watchable football team, which is, I know I get a lot of Dolphin games for whatever reason here. But overall, the draft, I'm giving them a C+. I thought with all these picks, I would have drafted completely differently. I would have got completely different players. And unfortunately, they kind of peaked after the Tua selection, I think. So I'm giving them a C+. Minnesota is up next, and for their best pick, this was kind of tough. I didn't really think they actually had a best pick. They had a lot of good ones, but to try to give a best, I'll just default here to Justin Jefferson because most likely he will be able to replace Stephon Diggs on a rookie contract. So, yeah, I'll give it to Justin Jefferson, but a really good draft. I'm giving them an A. They have a top 5 draft. I don't think there's ever been a time I've done these videos. I think we've done the last 3 years that I've ever hated a Vikings draft. Like day 3, Wanham I liked, Lynch I liked, Dye I liked, Hand I liked, Willikis I liked, Brian Cole. Like these were guys that I was like on Twitter saying, man, I hope Philly gets these guys. In Minnesota, bing bang boom. With all these picks, we're just rattling them off. So really good value there. I'm giving them a strong A. New England's up. And for the New England Patriots, best pick for me was getting Josh Uche here at pick 60 in the 2nd round. I think he's a very explosive edge rusher. I think he should be able to come in. I don't care what side you put on. Jamie Collins' side, Kyle Van Noy's side. He's going to be insane pass rush win rate at Michigan. And I think Bill Belichick's got to find the best way to utilize him. Really solid pick. But ultimately here for New England, kind of a weird draft. I'm going to ultimately have to give them a C grade. It was some questionable picks here and there. I mean, Jennings fits their scheme. Duggar is going to be interesting, but it's more of a long-term play. This is a team that needs guys that can contribute right away. And I definitely would question a lot of the selections, especially day 3 here for New England. So I'm going to unfortunately have to give the Patriots a C grade. New Orleans is up next, and for me, the best pick for New Orleans was getting Adam Troutman, who debatably could, when all said and done, emerge as the best tight end from this draft class. They got him at 165. It's a position that they need to get younger at because they have Jared Cook, who's, 31? Somewhere in that. Oh, Joe, right there. Jared Cook turning 33. So they debatably got the best tight end here. It's another really, really good draft here. They never have premier picks, right? And last year they still found a way to get Eric McCoy and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. This year, you know, a little bit light on the picks as well, and they still get Troutman, Zach Bond, and you could question the Ruiz going interior lineman in the first round, but he's still a really good player. New Orleans continually drafts well, and for me, I'm going to give them a B+. Giants are up, New York Giants, and I'm going to give their best pick right here. Andrew Thomas. I got the safest tackle in the draft. They could have messed this one up. There's no way Andrew Thomas is going to be a bad player. So getting him at pick 4, continuing to fix and build that offensive line was definitely a top priority. But ultimately for the Giants, I think they had a solid draft. I would question a couple of the picks here, but generally it's a very solid B grade that I'm going to give the Giants. I think really solid draft, probably the second best draft in the NFC East. So congrats on that. Jets are up next. The New York Jets. The team that got Philly's old general manager. Essentially, he wasn't officially a general manager, but he ran our drafts. And his first draft with the Jets, best pick for me, I'm a homer, is going to be getting Denzel Mims in the second round. They needed a tackle. They needed a franchise wide receiver. They most likely just did that and backed in the first round and getting Denzel Mims at pick 59. Are you kidding me? Mims did have a little bit of a draft day slide, but overall, I'm giving the Jets an A+. There's only 2 A+, Dallas, which stings me as an Eagle fan, and the Jets, which stings me because we had a terrible draft, and the Jets took our guy that's our draft board man and had a home run. Beck did Mims, Davis, Zuniga, P. Ryan, Bryce Hall, the best punter. Home run draft. Absolute home run draft here for the New York Jets. A+ all day long. The Philadelphia Eagles. Oh boy, best pick. I have to give it to Jalen Reagor, I guess. Like, they better hope he's their best pick. Speedster on the outside. I just hate the fact that they drafted him and they're just like, man, but he got special teams ability. I don't give a shit about special. I need an outside wide receiver, not a guy that's going to take additional snaps on special teams and get hurt. So I hope it's Jalen Reagor. He wasn't the best value pick, but he better be their best pick. Overall for the Eagles, they're getting a C. It was going to be a D, but they had a really good day 3. I think when you look at the day 3s, Philly debatably has as strong of a day 3 as anyone. Wallace, Driscoll, Hightower, Quez Watkins, Tagovailoa had a second-round grade. Obviously, some injury concerns. Two Hills, like an A-tier athlete. I really actually did like the Eagles. I'm as critical of the Eagles as anybody, but they had a really good day 3, which did save the draft a little bit for me, but it's very much, it's a strong C because of the day 3, but come on, man. Come on, man. Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Steelers are up next. Nice Canadian. Thanks for that. But the best pick for me was Anthony McFarland. I actually had him going to them in my mock draft. I think he's a great compliment to what they have in James Conner as a running back. So not a lot. I didn't really like this draft overly, but I thought McFarland was good value, and I think their best pick. Overall, though, I'm going to give Pittsburgh, I'm giving them a C as well. It was just kind of, I liked some of the players. Antoine Brooks, I thought Dodson, though, in the 4th round, a little expensive. Highsmith, 3rd round, a little expensive. Chase Claypool, they didn't get value there. They got him a slight reach, debatably. So I'm unfortunately got to give the Steelers here a C, a stronger C, a little bit better than the Eagles. But, you know, it's an average draft. Seattle Seahawks are up next. The best pick for me for the Seattle Seahawks is going to be Colby Parkinson, the tight end, getting him at pick 133. I think him and Will Dissly are going to be a great 1-2 punch at that tight end spot. Parkinson really helped himself at the combine in the drills. He looked like as good. He looked like the best tight end during the catching drills, and hell, he even blocked fairly well, even though his draft profile is he's a receiver. So I think there's upside for him to develop into a really good, complete tight end, even though you'd have to question, you know, don't they like Will Dissly kind of thing? But ultimately here, for the Seattle Seahawks, I'm going to give them a D+. It's a Seahawks draft bad, man. There's a reason why Seattle went from being one of the best drafting teams and one of the best teams in the NFL to now being like a fringe playoff team every year because their drafts are just not good, man. Not a lot of value. I would argue with the value of the first 2 selections there. So it's a D+ for me for Seattle. 49ers are up here, and the best pick for me is right there. Javon Kinlaw. Get him at pick 14. He could have been a top 10 pick. Comes in to hopefully be an immediate replacement for DeForest Buckner. Able to trade back, get a couple more picks. It just made a lot of sense for me that they got that. It wasn't a bad pick, but ultimately Kinlaw for me was their best selection. And I'm going to give the Niners, because you know they had a lack of ammunition here, a C+. What do we got here? Tampa. Okay, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Best pick, Wirfs. Offensive line, protecting Tom Brady was the most important thing that they had to do. And they went up. They only had to trade up. They didn't have to give a whole lot of assets to get a guy that's either going to be a right tackle, could slide into guard, worst case scenario. Either way, he is a day 1 starter to improve the protection for Mr. Thomas Brady. So I'm going to have to give them, overall, I like their draft. They're getting a very strong B. Winfield Jr. was a great pick. Johnson in the 5th round was a great pick. Davis, who I had mock draft to them in my mock, 6th round, great pick as well. Did I actually have them getting Callis? No, I think I had him going to New England. But it was a really good draft. I'm giving them a B. Tennessee Titans are now on the clock. Best pick for me for the Tennessee Titans was getting Christian Fulton at pick 61. Could be in that conversation for 3rd best corner in the draft. It was a position that they needed to get a lot more stability at. Logan Ryan's gone. They got to find guys that can come in. Malcolm Butler's getting up there in age a little bit. So Christian Fulton for me, great value as well as the best pick for the Tennessee Titans. And I'm going to give the Titans here, however, though, a C. I thought they could have done a little bit better. Isaiah Wilson, I mean, tackles the right position, but is that the right player? Evans, kind of fits where they need it. Running back, is he a 3rd round pick? I did like Murchison and Cole McDonald, whatever. It's a strong C, trending towards a C+, but I would argue the value of some of the picks that they got here. They finish up the draft here with the Washington Redskins. Best pick, much like Joe Burrow, it's Chase Young. Surprise, surprise, it's Chase Young, but he should be absolute game changer in that new 4-3 defense. A little bit worried as an Eagle fan. Thank God we're pretty good at tackle. But, I mean, if they put Chase Young and Andre Dillard, we're going to find out. We're going to see. We absolutely going to see. But ultimately for the Redskins, B. I'm giving them a B. They did another solid draft. Really good draft last year. They got some prospects I do like. Antonio Gibson, Gandy Golden, Keith Ismail. Makes sense. I thought Eagles were going to get him to come be the heir to Jason Kelsey. But overall, man, it was a solid draft here with the Redskins. Everyone except the Eagles had a good draft in the division, which is pretty damn annoying. But there you go, guys. That's going to do it for the best grades and the best grades, right? The best picks and the grades for all these teams. It's a little bit longer of a video. This is the meat and potatoes. We'll be back a little bit later. I'm going to go through all these teams, give you my opinion, their worst picks, and then we'll be back this evening where I'll go through all these teams and give you the best value picks for each one of them. But I hope you guys did enjoy it. Hope you guys did agree. Let me know how you feel about the grades in particular, because obviously best pick is up for interpretation. But the draft grades, do you think we did it right? I gave my highest 2 draft grades, went to the New York Jets. The Dallas Cowboys got an A+. Minnesota got an A. Denver Broncos also got an A. And the Baltimore Ravens got an A. And the worst ones, we had 2 failing grades. Packers got an F. Seahawks got a D+. Then you have like Titans. You have the friggin' Houston Texans, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Chicago Bears, Atlanta Falcons, somewhere in that mix for some of the worst draft. But 2 A+, 2 failing grades. How do you feel about that? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.